already forget what to say. Welcome to the Mediocre Athletes Club.
What a day.
Number 4. You forgot to say the number.
Oh, sorry.
Is that our number?
4. I think so. Mm-hmm. Most definitely.
Yeah.
Here we are. It's a good day. We're a little bit delirious.
Yeah, I hope you're ready because we're feeling sassy today.
Good, sassy, all the things.
We're not recording on our normal day.
I know. It feels we're a little off, but
yeah,
that's all right. So tell me about your last week training, your weekly goals. If you don't know what they were, just go listen to last week's.
Because they're adding up now, and that's challenging. So I'll say breakfast went great.
Oh, good.
And then Monday went great as well. Tuesday, on my way to go run in a track for intervals, my car broke down at a gas station. So I had to get rescued early in the morning by my husband and some friends. And that just kind of started the down spiral of my week. I did get more runs in. I did get more intervals in.
That's good.
I got one core routine in, but my week was just... It was one of those weeks.
It's good, though.
Not much to say.
Well, that will go nicely into our topic of not having rigid plans or following a rigid plan, because you can have goals and you don't have to punish yourself mentally or physically or with eating less or any crazy thing just because you didn't get a workout in. So
yeah, some weeks are just garbage.
Yeah,
and
that's just how it's going to be.
That was this week for me.
So.
How was yours?
Mine was pretty good. I also kind of had just a odd week with sleep, but other than that, I got some runs in. Probably not as much. No, I did fine.
I'm great.
Did probably 1 or 2 core days with other things, so it wasn't. I don't know. It was fine. It was fine. Not the best week, not the worst. Got some training in, and yeah.
I feel like it was just one of those weeks across the board. It was just weird.
It was good, and it was bad, and it was...
Yeah,
just an odd mix, but we're happy to be here. And
made it through it. I was so sore this week, too.
Were you?
Holy cow.
Oh.
Yeah, my knee started to hurt on some of my just, 5K runs. So I had to work on stretching and all that garbage that I'm not good at.
Yeah. I follow this lady who's like, I do not stretch at all. Because she has really good mobility. Just in general. She's just gifted somehow.
Oh, annoying.
She was talking about not having to stretch. And I don't really stretch either, but I'm trying to get better. I'm like, I don't know how she doesn't stretch. Because I'm just a tight ball of scrawny bone and a little bit of muscle.
She must have a good warm-up routine, depending on what she's doing. I don't know. That's crazy.
She is also a little bit shorter, and there's something about, this might be weird, but there's something about short people that I think they have really good mobility. Not sure if that's true, but
sounds right.
If you're short, you're in luck. Based off my super scientific theory.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this week, on episode number 4.
I think too, right?
It's absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. Number 4.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. We're talking about just different training plans and how we follow them or don't follow them.
And yeah, being okay with that, because consistency was one of the things I really want to work on. And so I have this plan, but you just can't stick to the same things constantly or the same treadmill workout. You have to mix it up. You have to get out. You have to be okay with it.
I do have to say there's part of me that feels like that's a very, not to throw this word around, but a very mediocre thing, because a lot of the elite athletes are on rigid plans, and they will say no to friends if something exciting comes up. Or, I mean, maybe not all the time. Especially, I mean, some of them have families, and of course stuff's always going to come up. But we're not quite like that.
No.
But it goes in seasons too.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no way to train in the winter the same way we're going to train in the summer. Activities change. I mean, unless you're a skier, like a crazy Nordic skier, you're not going to get the same cardio in the winter that you're going to get in the summer.
Yeah, I think that's something interesting. It seems like a lot of places are getting snow right now. I don't know, Minnesota, Montana, Washington, Colorado. Yeah. So we got like a tiny bit of snow, and then oddly it stayed cold, so that tiny bit of snow stuck around, but we haven't gotten any more, so we'll probably get more. But I was just thinking about that today because I went running and I was like, oh, this is probably the last day. And I still was bundled up and had a lot of layers. I was like dreading the winter running outside just because, not because it's not fun or great, but it's just different, and the trails are different, and you have to have different footwear, and you have to have more layers, and you have to prepare for getting warm and then cold and all the things.
Yeah, very weather dependent too. Because if you're planning on going out and then all of a sudden it's just sleeting and blowing 60 miles per hour, guess what?
You might go out, but it might not be very fun.
You might be done if you do
Oh my gosh. I don't know if this was last year or not, but I went out. I was like determined to get this long run in before a race, which was so stupid because I didn't even really train. I was like, I have to get this long run in.
It's going to be so beneficial right now.
Yeah, so beneficial. It was so windy and so cold. It had to have been I think it was like -20, and I'm like, I'm going running. And then I went in Palmer, which is notorious for wind. Oh
it's
my
windy
gosh.
Anywhere. It's way worse in Palmer.
Yeah, it was not the greatest moments, but I did it. So.
How'd you feel after? Were you glad? Or is it one of those ones where you're just like, why did I get out of bed?
No, I was glad I did it, but also with winter activities, you get back inside and you're like really sweating, and then all of a sudden you just freeze, and it takes a while to... And I think I went right to like a meeting or something after, so I was like...
Just chill to the bone.
Yeah, and you're like sitting in your sweat. Whatever. I don't know why I told you that story, but now you know. So it's just different training in the winter.
It's fun to get ready for the miserable because, you know, we're going to go out when the weather's crappy this year, and it's going to suck occasionally. But the nice thing is we're getting better about what we're wearing. Those shoes have been amazing. Gore-Tex, what a game changer.
Yeah, I think Gore-Tex, it's interesting too because, I mean, it probably depends for everybody, but I feel like Gore-Tex is probably smart in winter because in the summer, like if you run into water, it's probably so submerged that it doesn't do anything.
I would never wear it in the summer, but a lot of people still like
A lot of people
waterproof.
do, yeah.
Teach their own, I guess.
And yeah, it just depends what terrain you're on, I think. Carrie's getting text.
I'm sorry.
Watch out.
Watch out.
She's very important.
It's not even here.
She just slid it across the floor. Now
out.
it's just sitting in the middle of the kitchen.
We'll remember that later.
We're in a good, it's good.
It's quite the morning.
So, with training though, and we probably have a little bit different mindsets when it comes to this. So I'm curious what you think about winter is a totally different game because we are trying to be more consistent during the winter so that we're ready, and we've talked about this, so that we're more prepared in the spring and summer so we can roll into training easier. However, it's still different in it's definitely, I think in the past it's been less rigid probably for both of us. We haven't, you know, we've done some training, but it hasn't been super consistent or whatever. But I'm just curious what your thoughts are on just not necessarily following a rigid training plan, but still reaching your goals.
Yeah, winter's hard for me too because I'm split in a couple different directions. In the summer, really all I do is climb. In the winter, we have hockey and then snow machining as well. So being able to stick to a training plan while adding in other activities I've never done it. Right. I've always just kind of pushed running to the side and just enjoyed an off season, I guess, having fun. But
there's nothing wrong with that by any means.
Yeah, it's fun. That's why I do it. But at the same time, every spring, like, what is wrong with me?
What have I
hate
done?
Myself. Every step is miserable. You were so lazy. And even though hockey is cardio, it does not translate.
It's so funny how things don't translate you would think they
if
would.
I'm moving,
Come on.
can this just stick to everything? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, vice versa. Mountain running does not help for hockey. It's totally different speed and but yeah, I think just having these challenges throughout the week, because typically I don't do a lot during the week, during the work week anyways. I'm just doing a lot more in the mountains on the weekends. So being able to train before work or train after work and holding myself a little bit more accountable to that. So you still have the weekends to go play hockey, go snow machining, whatever. And you never know what the weather's going to have in store because there are days where you just cannot go outside.
Right. Yeah, there are days that suck up here. Well, everywhere.
Yeah.
But, so we just went and played, well, I didn't play. I skated around. But we went and played hockey yesterday on, like, an alpine lake that froze over. And that's one of the things we're talking about because we want to, saying no to that is just, you almost...
Yeah, no, it's just unreal. You can't say no to that.
Yeah. And
you did mix in a little bit of cardio. Like a 1.5 mile walk out there.
Yeah.
Looking like idiots walking with hockey sticks down the trail.
Yeah, it's funny because this alpine lake is kind of hidden. So if you don't know that it's there, and there are people on that trail that are like, where are you going with skates and a hockey stick? Like,
yeah,
someone
asked where the rink was up there.
Yeah, there's just a huge building in the mountains. But if you know the trail, a lot of people were like, that's sick, that's awesome. Because the trail is quite populated with skiers and walkers and all that good stuff. So that was pretty funny. But the setting that it was in is just so gorgeous. And then being with friends and just having a good time, having beers, all the good things. You just can't, sometimes there's things that you're just not going to say no to. And that's okay.
Yeah. Especially for that magical moment where the ice freezes over, there's still snow around, but there's not snow on the lake. Well, until we got there and it started snowing, but that comes around like one day a year. You're not going to say no to that.
Yeah, the window is very small.
And I don't know with elite athletes if can you roll your days or?
I mean, I'm sure they do a little bit, and I have listened to a few people who see it, like especially ones who have families who do definitely things come up or whatever, so they switch things around. But I don't know. I'm not an elite athlete, so
never had one of those.
I'm not really sure how that goes, but and I think for me too, it's very similar to what you said. Is like now, if you focus more time during the week, which I never have really done even during the summer, like I've done some of it, but not really. If you focus more on the work week, getting training in, you feel less guilty about. You should never feel guilty, but you're going to feel a little less guilty about doing something that's maybe not training on the weekends. And I definitely, I mean, I think there's something cool about having not rigid, but having a structured set training plan to follow so that you can track your progress and up your miles in an appropriate way and not get injured and all the good stuff. But with that being said, you still can, I don't know if you do this, but I will flop my days around a lot. So at the beginning of the week, I'll be like, okay, this is what I'm aiming for. But if I'm really exhausted, and I know we both had days like this week. If you're exhausted or we know we're going to skate, we just switch things around. So we still get our goals in. It's just not perfectly planned like some other people might
The first few weeks just went so well. And then going into this week where things just went down the trash cans. Felt guilty, but at the same time, you're going to have weeks like that. And I think in the past, I've had weeks like that and then never got back onto it. So I have never really seen the progress from a structured training plan because I never stuck to one long enough to see the progress, maybe a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Probably not ever really even a month.
I know. I feel like that's one of my long-term goals, to be able to stick to a structured plan.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're working on it.
Yeah. One, I do feel like that's kind of this mediocre problem in such a big scale of every goal you have. And you see it a lot in the fitness world because people will be like, hey, how can I do this? And they'll buy a training plan or they'll buy a supplement or they'll buy something. And they're like, this is going to be it. I'm going to get healthy and life is going to be great.
Hey, don't make fun. I've done it.
Yeah, I'm not trashing that because I feel like that's where we've been with training plans, and I have purchased them and been like, oh yeah, it's great, but I don't stick to it.
Yeah.
So I think that will be kind of fun to see where that long-term goal ends up. Yeah, but
sometimes that is one of the best ways to at least get the ball rolling, because I know there have just been times I've always dealt with plateaus, and right now I'm on about a 2-year plateau. And that's kind of what sparked this as well, because I'm just sick of I progress for years and then hit a plateau and just cannot get above it. But occasionally when that happens, I'll just like buy a new pair of shorts or buy new shoes or accessory or something, whatever just gets you motivated and excited to go out. The little things. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and little gains are harder to see too. Like, you're wicked fast, and I feel like you have gotten faster. Maybe not. But, so it's, and so when you hit those plateaus or what looks like a plateau, you might be gaining, but it's just, once you hit a point, like, any gain's going to be really slow, which is frustrating. But if you're beginning, it might be faster, which is very exciting.
That was the best part about, starting. Is being able to make it to the top of the mountain. I remember when I made it, a couple thousand feet up the Lazy Mountain Trail. It's like, I didn't have to stop for the first 2,000 feet. And
awesome.
What a moment that was. And now it's like, if you stop at all, you're an idiot.
Hey, whoa, I stop all the time.
Yeah, no, I do. I do too now. But, all those little gains are easier to see. And then the past couple years with racing, I haven't really been doing as many races. Last year, I think I only ran maybe 3. And every year, religiously, I will just completely bonk one race. And now that I've done them all multiple times and I'm not seeing PRs every single time, I don't even remember, besides Mount Marathon, what I ran last year, but I know I didn't hit a single PR. And then this year, I had 2 races, really. And Pikes Peak was the first time, so I didn't know. And then the other race, Matt Peak Challenge, I bonked brutally.
So, with that being said, though, what was it like training? Because it was different for you training this year, just because the races, because of the pandemic, races were not as mean, we didn't know what the heck was going on or if they were going to have them.
Yeah.
So
really
what was
wasn't
like...
expecting any of them to happen.
Yeah.
I think that was part of the problem too, is instead of really training this year, I just took a year and had fun. I didn't track really over the summer any of my times.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea my mileage, my vert, and normally that's something I'm super addicted to, like seeing the numbers go up. But
Yeah.
this year, just wanted to have a fun year, not really worry about it so much, but still train.
And get out there. Yeah.
Because for whatever reason, every single race was being canceled. We had so many. I had a calendar for the first time written out with all my races on it.
Yes.
I mean, it was packed too. It was like a couple events a month.
Mm-hmm.
And then slowly it was just like cancel. And then Pikes was the only one that didn't. Pikes and Matt Peak, the two hardest races on the calendar. So I had those in the back of my mind, but I still just kind of want to have a fun year because of the plateaus and because I really haven't been gaining. And then last year was the smoke, which made it really hard for everybody to train.
Yeah, and it was warm.
It was super hot.
Okay, it was like 80, 90s. But for here, and it's a different heat up here. It's totally different. Like 70 is just boiling to all of us. And it's not that it's like, it's just the type of heat that it is. And maybe we're just not used to it. I don't know. I was running in like 30-degree weather today without gloves. Like, it felt great. It's like, what is this? This feels wonderful.
Yeah, as long as you're moving. 30 yesterday when we were moving.
And not a lot of wind. Yeah.
Although you don't notice wind as quickly as I do.
That's, yeah.
You're a little tougher than me when it comes to wind.
I don't know. Just depends.
But yeah, that's the thing too, is there's always going to be something. Whether it's the smoke or the pandemic or whatever. So that's... You have to roll with the punches and with a rigid training plan. You're not going to be able to stick to it 100% of the time.
Right.
You're just going to end up failing. So being able to flex a little bit and give, depending on what's going on outside or, you know, even in personal life, things come up. And
yeah. And I think to speak to maybe anybody who is listening, or like 7 listeners who,
we appreciate all 7 of you.
Yes. Who might not be either they're a higher level than us or maybe a lower level. And just consistency takes a while to build too, I think. Like just having a tiny goal, which is why we talk about our goals, having something really small to work towards and not this giant, like, not just all of a sudden I haven't ran and now I'm going to go do a 50K. Like that's a great goal to have, but focus on the small achievable goals.
Or
I think it's important. Or you're going to crash.
Too. I have an issue with that as well. I
Same.
I take leaps when I should. Yeah, I don't focus on the little battles as well. Yeah.
So we're working on ourselves or something like that.
We fail. We make the same mistake again. Fail again. But we're learning. And that's why we're here. And we want to share it. So maybe other people don't make the same mistake.
Yeah. You likely will at some point. But maybe not as
many
intense
times
or as much. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I have a harder time in the summer too because I feel like I do bigger climbs that are slower, that have weight, and it's just different. So if I know that we're going to do a big climb overnight, I don't want to work out the day before because I don't want to trash myself and then feel terrible in the mountains, because when you're in the mountains and with other people, if you slow people down, or especially if you're going for a bigger objective that is weather dependent and you're slowing people down or changing the pace, it's not always the best because it can it can make the difference between summiting or not, or whatever the case is. So I feel like my training is not as good in the summer, which is not great, but so it'll be interesting to see what happens this summer and how I can include it. Or
you guys do some crazy stuff too, like stuff I absolutely cannot do. So
you just don't want to.
No, I don't. I do not have the nerves to do what you guys do. And so there's really no point in like going and crushing a leg workout the night before and then going for peak with the exposure and where you really just kind of want to be feeling your best.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many times that I've gotten Elvis leg, which, if you don't know, is like you get so nervous and your leg just starts twitching.
Somehow, you know why I can't do it. It's out of my control. Like, I can no longer feel my arms or legs.
And that
when I'm in areas where I know I could probably die.
And it's like the worst thing. You just kind of have to tell yourself, like, just keep moving and just go, and your body will react, because once you get so nervous and start thinking about it, it just trashes everything, and you can't let yourself, even though I still let myself and I'm working on it, but I'm in the scheme of like medium to really difficult things, I'm like, low. But
okay. To put it into perspective,
it depends
last year,
like
Teresa took me not once, but twice. No, this was totally my fault.
Okay, but the first time we were both tired and didn't even want to go far. So,
no, you would have done it. But the approach for this mountain was, what was it, like 8 miles?
How far is it to the lake? 6?
It's like 5 or 6.
Okay.
So it's probably like 8 miles.
With like 2,000 gain, maybe?
No, it was like just under 4.
Oh.
And
really?
Then you actually get to
to where we got was 4. Oh. Sorry, my bad.
No.
This is my problem. I don't plan.
This is back when I tracked everything. So twice. The first time you went back there, and basically that's the approach, and then to summit you have about 1,000 feet of a little bit more technical climbing.
Yeah, and the 1,000 feet goes slow. It's not just like climbing a hill. So it's scrambly is probably what people would call it.
Things that I'm not good at. So I got scared the first time.
I thought we were both just tired. We were just like...
I think you fed off of my energy because
I was not having it that day.
Yeah. And the top of the summit was in the clouds too. Or a cloud. There was like one cloud out there.
And that one is a little route findy. So like if you get lost or like the clouds start coming down, probably not the best for this lady who may or may not be the best at navigating, but that's beside the point. There, we'll talk about that later.
Right, yeah. So we went back after I got scared and we just walked on out that one. Like, all right, we're going to do it this time. Got there second time. Teresa's all ready to go. She's like halfway up. She's like 500 feet up, and I'm sitting at the bottom, like crawling, grabbing on a rock. And once again, I said, no, I can't do it. We left.
It's one of those things, though, that if you're not comfortable on, and that's why it's important to do things out of your comfort zone with someone you're comfortable with, that you can be like, no, I'm not going to do it. Because there's just, your ego has to go out the window in the mountains.
I had no ego that day, let me tell you.
Well, and it's like the best place to be, because that's where people get injured, is when you're like, oh, I'll keep going because she wants to go. Yeah. And then you fall off the mountain, and then
you're left there to drag my body out. Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Okay, anyways. Don't be nervous, Mom and Dad. We're doing really safe things.
Yeah.
Okay, we are pretty safe. We make good calls.
Clearly, I don't even go, so there's no way for me to get injured.
Yeah. But it's hard for me to turn, and that stuff's slow, so you can't, like, train. I mean, you can train on that stuff, and people do, because they'll train for, like, more mountaineering. But you can't, on that stuff, you can't train for long trail runs or a 50K, because you have to be smart, and that climb, that last 1,000 feet is so slow. So it's hard, and that's where in the summer, like, training plans just kind of go out the window, because I'm like, if there's a chance to go up a new peak, I'd rather do that. Right. So I don't know, it's a battle, and I think everybody has different things that they're not going to say no to.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, that was a long-winded
spiel on.
But hopefully you got something out of it. Maybe. So,
speaking of rigid plans, what's your goal?
So mine is actually just to do some stretching and mobility work throughout the week, either after a run or
Smart.
just because I've been feeling really tight, and I feel like if I'm starting to train for anything or just add more than I've been doing, I feel like I'm just going to get injured at this point because I'm tight. So I'm just trying to get ahead of the ball. So that's my goal.
That's probably what mine should be. But after this week, I have a really short goal. And my goal is going to be to actually find out what my 1 mile time is so I can report it and we can actually know if I'm growing. The other thing is I'm going to stop saying yeah so much on the podcast. Yeah, everything you say, yeah. And I know that I do it and I just need to stop. Self-awareness has been great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so.
Okay. Mm-hmm. We're not going to have anything to say anymore.
Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to find out what my 1 mile time is.
Just said it.
I can't stop.
So 1 mile time, just sprinting?
Yeah. That it actually worked in that. Yes.
So when you're testing yourself, are you just going to run a mile?
I'm just going to run a mile.
That day.
I want to find out because I want to get down to, oh no, I'll probably do more than that. But I'm just going to sprint a mile. And whether it be a 10 mile per hour sprint, which would actually be my goal, or a 10-minute mile.
Because 10 is...
Out.
What is
10 miles per hour is a 6-minute mile.
I can't do that right now.
I absolutely cannot either.
Oh, is that your long-term goal? Or that's your goal for this week? 6-minute mile.
Oh, that's my long-term goal.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Where's your speed
I can get
coming
right
from?
now. I can get that pace for 1/8 of a mile.
Yeah, probably could. Well, yeah, I don't know. I haven't been doing a whole lot of intervals. I went for an hour-long run today.
What?
And I tested my aerobic threshold, which all this stuff is new to me, but it was interesting. I don't know. Anyways, I'm not sure where that came from, but I am also testing myself, I guess is my point. So you're testing your run, but I'm not even... Don't forget I said that. We'll talk about
We'll get
that
into it another time.
It's confusing even for me just to figure it all out, so...
Yeah, it's beyond confusing for me.
Whatever.
Yeah. Stop it.
Oh my gosh.
Someday.
We're gonna need one of those zappers that we were talking about. Like those fly swatters that have the little buzz thing.
Yeah.
On them.
What is wrong with me? Told you I said one of those days. Honestly, well, on that note.
We can't, yeah. Oh my gosh. I think we better just end this, but
yeah.
Your goal is to stop saying yeah and time your 1 minute mile.
Correct.
And mine is to stretch and do some mobility work.
Correct.
You're gonna have to figure out some new words.
Yeah.
All right. Well, tune in for episode number 5 when Carrie will be trying not to use the word yeah. And we will see you next week.
Thanks so much.